Are you a prepper? Are you somebody that, would you consider yourself one or not really?
Depends on what you mean by that term, because there is, of course, a negative connotation associated with the term prepper. It's the guy who has a school bus buried in his backyard in fixed machine gun positions. I am not that. But again, I do my best to try to take the world as it is presented to me and not the world that I want it to be. You know, from a statistical perspective, we're living in the safest time for human beings ever. But that doesn't mean that wild shit doesn't happen. And so where I live, you know, response time on a 911 call could be up to 30 to 45 minutes.
Holy shit.
Well, you know, we're talking, so I live up in Kalispell, which I still can't get somebody to give me an exact number of people that live there, but let's say Kalispell specifically like 35,000. Whitefish, I think, has like 20. The whole valley, you know, the Flathead Lake is on the south portion of it. Maybe 100,000 people in that entire valley.
Beautiful place, by the way.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm friends with a lot of the law enforcement, and one of the questions that I hate asking them is, hey, how many guys do you have on shift today? Oh, 6. I'm like, what? What are you?
Not worried at all.
I mean, there's sheriff's department and police departments, and Whitefish has their own and Kalispell does, but the veneer is thin. So I am prepared to take care of situations that present themselves to me to a certain threshold. Like I have the ability to, you know, treat minor medical issues with me in my car. I've been the first person to pull up on an accident a few times in my life, and it's, you know, so many people want to focus on being able to put holes into people as opposed to being able to treat them medically. The likelihood you're ever going to poke a hole in somebody is super low. The likelihood you might pull up to an accident where somebody needs a tourniquet or a bandage or whatever it may be is high. So I have a medical kit in my car. You know, I don't have 300 days worth of food in the basement. I don't have a crazy water filtration system and water storage system. I'm prepared to be my own first responder. To a degree. I am, of course, going to have to leverage or levy other government entities to a certain point. And then people are like, oh, what if civil war breaks out? I'm like, well, then I have a lot of guns and bullets because your supplies will become mine.
Yeah.
So why don't you stockpile water? Because I know other people that are, and they don't have any guns.
Yeah.
So they can work for their water ration.
Wow. Yeah. What a way of thinking about it, right? It's like, I'm going to get my hands on it no matter what.
Yeah, I'm getting it. But because and mind you, the Leave the World Behind at the end of the movie, it kind of led towards the Civil War was coming. So it's all in step. It's like project. What is it, Robbie? Projective or programming, where they
predictive
programming. Thank you for clarifying it. And you talked about, Andy, this divisiveness. It's the powers that be that thrive on it. Divide and conquer. We've heard that a million times in our lives. They want us to be like this. They want us to hate each other. We're trying to all get along. We're trying to do it, but they keep putting the race. They keep doing this. They keep trying to divide us. We see what they're doing. They're trying to do with Trump. They're threatening all the people that are pro-Trump. They're the threat to democracy. We're the deplorables. We're the problem. I think if they see at some point that they can't keep this power, and dude, look at how many times they're trying to keep this guy out. Do you feel, though, if it gets to a point where they're like, oh shit, this guy's gonna win, they're not gonna drive and push the American people to get to that point? If something like that, if a power outage goes out on November 5th, I'm not necessarily saying people are going to want it, but it's going to be pandemonium. Don't you think?
I don't know where the quote comes from, but it's 9 meals from chaos. And that's basically where most first world countries are if something were to happen. We're about 9 meals away, meaning 3 days from people starting to go at each other's throats. What I would remind you when it comes to the divisiveness, and this is something I have to remind myself, is that our participation in that system is optional. You know, the turning social media off for a little bit. There are other ways out there to communicate and connect with people other than these main social media platforms. Podcasting is a great example of this. You think traditional news outlets love the fact that we're sitting here having a conversation outside of their purview?
Nope.
But more importantly, ad revenue? They're not having that shit. So you don't have to be on these systems. The reason I worry about divisiveness is that I have seen it. There's a lot of things I see online that do not bleed into my everyday life. These issues that people are screaming at the rooftops, and it seems like everybody is talking about it, and I've never had a single conversation with anybody in real life about it. I have started to see some people like arguing face to face. And it breaks my heart because at the end of the day, your neighbor shouldn't be your enemy. You know, like I said, I've been a first responder to a few accidents before, and I've never pulled up to the vehicle and walked around to the back to see what their bumper sticker was. Like, oh, you're on that side of the aisle, I'm not going to provide help. Now, the only thing you care about is helping somebody who is in need. Why? Because they're a fellow American, or maybe they're not American, right? Because obviously that would be an assumption.
Your humanity, just it's a human being.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about their political ideologies when they're leaking hydraulic fluid. I want to make that stop so they can continue on to live whatever type of life that they want to. I don't think it's accidental that we are being nudged towards that level of divisiveness, but we are in absolute and total control over the amount of volume that we consume when it comes to that. And these anxiety rectangles that are in all of our pockets that we're on all day long, they're not helping the issue. It's a part of who we are and the life that we live, but people forget that it's optional. But I do think it is dangerous.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.